Good morning, everybody. It's nice to see everyone this morning. We took a little hiatus for the month of June, or I guess May and June. And we're thrilled to be here this morning. And Carlos Trejo, the Director of Planning and Zoning, is with us. Before we get started, we always have people introduce themselves and have a question. And I would like to hear what people's favorite new development is around Olivet, or some of the progress you've seen that you are really proud of, since most of you live in Olivet or work in Olivet. So should I start in the back row? I'll start in the back and work forward.
Harry Newell, longtime Olivet resident, 62 years.
Bruce McGregor, resident and city employee.
Jan Fitzgerald, longtime resident, president of Olivet and Bloom. So I guess I have to say the new community center and the new garden that's coming around it.
David Goldie, a resident of Olivet for 63 years. I'm particularly proud of the fact the corner where Firestone is, all those wonderful flowers that the ladies are taking care of are absolutely beautiful.
Right.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Pat Wooten, and I would say the Civic Center because we live real close to it, and I can't wait to see the garden. That's probably going to be gorgeous.
I'm Vaughn Morrill, 580 Dealman, and I'm enjoying all the beautiful improvements at the parks.
Hi, Leslie Ricard. I'm a longtime resident of Olivet as well. I love all the what's going on in all the parks. I have liked the new Planthaven Center. It's a nice little attractive shopping center, and having Planthaven there too. So just the small growth things like that with the parks in particular, and all the plantings and the beautiful stuff in Olivet.
Jared Kurtz. I've been with the city 8 years. I'm the senior building inspector. And all of the development in Olivet keeps us extremely busy. So.
I'm Mike Hostetter. I'm the commercial building inspector. I've been here since January. Probably the favorite thing that we have going on is directly across the street over that big eyesore we had. It looks a lot better so far.
My name is Paul Luft. I'm the code enforcement officer for the last 4 years or so. Non-resident, but I love the parks. Great parks in the city.
I'm Jack Carswell. I'm the new planning and zoning administrator. I just started 3 days ago. So I'm excited to see just the different development that's occurring in Olivet, and I'm excited to start this journey.
Oh, shoot. What's the question? Wait, my favorite thing about Olivet? Oh. I like having safe places to walk when it's not too hot. And I also appreciate the quick response from Olivet, taking away all the debris from the trees falling down last week. It's been pretty incredible. Every place I go, I've been snapping pictures of people that had worse troubles than me, much worse troubles than me, and how fast it's getting picked up. So thank you for that. I totally forgot. I'm sorry. I overslept. My name is Sherilyn Carell. I live on Marbrook Lane, and my parents owned the home before me since 1970. I inherited it in 2005, and I guess my daughter will be inheriting it from me.
Keith Oz, 40+ years. And I second that the little garden on Olive and Dealman looks really nice. And I like what they've done to Irv Z Park.
My name's Roy Blair. There's so many things when you drive down Olive that have changed in the last 5-10 years. I mean, it just, and everything goes from the Oliver to the Firestone place, this just makes a much better place to just drive down the street. And when you compare it with downtown St. Louis, how bad that it's gotten, just makes you really proud that Olivet's done all the things that they've done. Thank you.
Tim Fain, I'm the assistant fire chief here in town, been here 27 years. Favorite thing right now is the building construction down at Olive 170, 9100 area, Olive Crossing.
Hello, all. I'm Dave Barry, Deputy Chief of Police. Excuse me. I've worked for the city of Olivet for coming up on 30 years. And I will second the last 10 years is the most changes I've noticed in my whole career here. Everything is really coming together.
I'm Denise Nandel and I'm the HR director and I've been here a little over 10 years. I don't know that I have a favorite. It's just exciting to see all the change.
Patrick Dickinson. I've been with the city of Olivet since May. I'm the residential building inspector here. I don't have any one particular favorite development, but what I would say being the building inspector would be the diverse architecture between new homes and some of the old existing homes. I really like the blend that you have going on here in Olivet.
Hi, I'm Rose Thieving. I work here. I've been here 32 years and I'm also a resident and it's a great place to be.
And behind me, we have Darren Mann, who is our interim city manager, who's been amazing and juggling a lot of things. On August 7th, we have our new city manager joining us. And I look forward to everyone meeting Jennifer Yackley. And for those that don't know, Denise Mandel will be retiring at the end of the month. So like Roy, we hope you'll come back and be an alumni and come to coffees with the mayor. So this morning, my guest is Carlos Trejo, and Carlos is the Director of Planning and Community Development. I made up a different title before. I added zoning in there for the city of Olivet, and he's leading the charge for planning, organizing, and directing all activities and staff related to the city's community development functions, including building plans, review, inspection, code compliance, site planning, and economic development. He's a graduate of the University of Wisconsin from the Milwaukee School of Architect and Urban Planning with a master's degree in both architecture and urban planning. He earned his AICP certification in 1998 before joining the city of Olivet as their first full-time planner in 2002. Carlos served as the planning and zoning administrator in Muskego, did I say it right? Wisconsin from 1995 to 1998, and Creve Coeur, Missouri from 1998 to 2001. And we've been fortunate to have him here the past 22 years. 22, wow. Under the guidance, the city's 2006 comprehensive plan, Carlos has navigated Olivet through a series of place-making principles that have resulted in a renaissance in the community. In 2016, Carlos collaborated with the consulting firm Development Strategies to develop an economic development strategy for a portion of the Olive Boulevard corridor that has led to nearly 500 million in economic development activity. This project includes a new community gateway along 170 and a framework for a pedestrian-oriented city center. Carlos is currently updating the 2006 comprehensive plan with the help of the community in planning the next 20 years. The new comprehensive plan will further the city's land use policies related to sustainability and equitable development. Please visit olivetcomplan.com for more information on that, but we'll repeat that later on today as well. But I'm just so thrilled for Carlos to be with us. And I know that in previous years, Carlos has come with a PowerPoint and everything, and he's talked about, you know, some of the different developments. And when we talked about today, I said, Carlos, some of the biggest questions I get are about how do you go through this process? How do you go through that process? And complaints. Why is this happening? Or why? And sometimes it's like, people just need to get educated and know the process, and it's hard, and we've really worked hard on the website, and I think that Kiana's done a fabulous job of improving the website, but there's a lot of questions out there about how planning and zoning works and the depth and breadth of your department. So we want to start today by talking about what are the different sectors and divisions in the planning, community and development department, and what are their roles? And if you need me to repeat that, I can.
So when, in our budgetary process, we had to write our department description, our mission statement, and so, one of the things is that we look at the department, or at least working with our staff, to look at the department in three distinct divisions. There is the building division, which consists of the plan review of the construction documents, inspections, and code enforcement. And they're pretty broad in there. They look at, 35,000 properties. We get over 300 permits per year, and then we do occupancies, and then a volume of calls and inspections through the process. So they maintain their own their own identity and role in terms of what they're trying to do. And then there's the planning division, which looks, as the stewards of our 2006 comprehensive plan, which is our long range plan, which sets our community's vision in there. And in that, we do long range planning, mid range planning, short range planning in there. And that usually that planning involves, changes to the code, changes to other regulations, or incorporating new regulations and standards that reflect the community's vision in there. And then there's the zoning application of that, of the setbacks and placement, and what's permitted, what's not permitted. And then there is a what we call our geographic information systems division, and that's the analytical and analysis and mapping component that serves my department along with all the other departments in the city. And it consists of, aggregating all our license data, whether it's business licenses, liquor licenses, census data, other maps and data from other jurisdictions, and making them accessible and usable for our department to do our research. And then all the other departments to suit their needs. So we look at it as those three core divisions, and then that, those three divisions can talk amongst themselves and interact amongst themselves and help in there.
So during the introductions, your team introduced themselves and their titles, but I don't know that everyone understands what an inspector is versus, someone who comes around and writes up issues if someone has trees growing over the sidewalks or something going on at their home. Could you explain what the different positions are and reintroduce these people so people can put a face to a name to their responsibilities?
And I'll start from our short timers to those most recent. So Jack Carswell just joined our team this week. He's a graduate from KSU, and we welcome him. He will be overseeing a lot of our zoning and planning components. So he'll be working with our plan commission, and as they set up their reviews and their regulations, he'll coordinate with the building staff to ensure that if they require more brick, more landscaping, or specifics, that feeds down through that process. Jack will also help us with some zoning issues, which are different from code enforcement issues. So he'll assist us with some zoning issues when we get calls regarding on something, occupancies or type of activities taking place in a property. So he's integrated in that process, and then to assist the inspectors with some stormwater things and that nature. So he's got a big bag of things that he'll work with. We reorganized the building division to include a code enforcement officer, and that's Mr. Left here, Paul. He's our veteran in there. We're fortunate to get him from St. Louis County, so he's got a good background and good communication skills to work with residents addressing complaints. And those complaints can be from peeling paints to dead trees and all that. And his patience is a strength to work with residents in there. And even though people want an instant change or an instant process when they file a complaint, it does take some work. And sometimes it's regarding cultures, communication, financing or just kind of getting a schedule and getting them set to the right direction. In there, he does a really good job in there. Then we hired Patrick this May. He's going to be our senior, our head residential inspector, doing residential plan reviews, residential inspections, and then we all kind of assist in that same process. So he works with Jack. He will be working with Paul, and in terms of the implementation of the zoning or commission conditions, and also with the code enforcement in there. And then he's a member of the International Code Council and got passed his first certification for property maintenance within the past 2 weeks, I think, in there. And then we have Mike joined us at the beginning of the year in January. He will be our commercial inspector, and he'll work closely with Jared in terms of overseeing the review and inspections of commercial properties, doing commercial occupancies, and then filling in to assist Pat, Paul, and Jack in the process in there. And Mike's also a member of the International Code Council, and he just received his first certification also in property maintenance. So we're pretty proud of him on that as he's working up the ladder there. And then we got Jared. Jared's our main lineman. He's got 8 years with the city of Olivet, member of the International Code Council, and he's hit and I forget it's not the trifecta, but he's got 5 certifications with the International Code Council, the 5 that the city will certainly wants as part of each of our employees. So he serves now as our senior building official, and he coordinates, Mike, Paul, Patrick, and even working with Jack in the process. So again, we're well integrated in there. And then we had Don. Don just walked in, and Don is our senior planner and also an Olivet resident in there. We were fortunate to hire Don. She's now in her full 2nd year in there. Previously, she was she worked with the County Economic Development Council, and she's our analyst or analytical person and planner in the process in there. And so she does a lot of the communications between departments, coordinating data, interpreting that data, making that data illustrative through mapping and things like that with police, fire, working with public works, parks, and all that. So anytime you see some type of map, odds are Don was back there somewhere in that process. So she's brought us, in her 2 years, really up in terms of our analytical skills and our mapping skills in there. And then of course, Rose, I thought was 33 years in there. The unique thing about Rose, and Rose kind of oversees us all and helps us coordinate. But I was kind of thinking, well, what can I say about Rose? And there, if you think about the city of Olivet, there's probably about 32,000 parcels. And within that, we know we have about 2,700 dwelling units, but close to about 3,500 individual type of units, whether it's commercial, a warehouse, an apartment, or a single family house. And she's probably been in 90% of those, or has done something in 90% of those, whether it's in an index card or on a computer. And I don't think that there's an officer or fire person that has been in each of these addresses in there, and that's pretty impressive. So I think that's something to be pretty proud of. So for every permit, occupancy, sign, or so, she's had something to do with that address, and that's impressive.
And her job security has been letting me get into the office because most of the time I forget my badge. And I also, Dawn was a guest earlier this year with Beth Quigley to, did I say her? Quindry, with the comprehensive plan. So, and reported to the community about this census plan. So it's what a dynamic team you have. Very, very fortunate. What are the procedural steps to approving a new development project, such as a business or an apartment complex? I'm not talking about resident at this point. I'm talking more bigger projects.
I was thinking when you asked that first question earlier to the audience was about what's your favorite project and all of that, and kind of was thinking about what mine was. And ultimately I go to the shops at Price Crossing. And, you know, I was still a newbie in the process. So, last night, Mr. Yowitz had indicated, the development was built in 2006. But I know it from 2004 in there. And in that process, I mean, there's a lot of things and discussions that take place in there. But, that was going to be our quick trip. And that was what was proposed at the old Telenas and the Gardner building and those houses. And, with the faith of the council, talking to the development community, including Keep Properties and Mr. Yowitz, and building neighbor support in there, the city truly created somewhat of a mixed use building. At that time, I don't think it was within our vision to have a multi-story, multi-type of use, non-motor vehicle oriented business. And, when I got hired on here, I think one of the directions I received from the council was, we want something different. And while that's not the greatest development, but that took us a big leap forward. And, I was fortunate to gain a lot of confidence from the council, the developers within the region, that all of it can do something and all of it can be something. So I always go to that one. And I guess answering your question directly, it starts if somebody comes in and approaches us and they ask for an opinion. They may be already under contract. We don't have control of that, or they just may be in discussions. And they always ask me the what if, and that's always hard, because the what if, there's my personal opinion and then my professional opinion. And my professional opinion is what I'm here to serve the city of Olivet for. And that opinion is molded through our comprehensive plan, and then the direction, the guidance I get from the council and the commission in there. Sometimes, we look at developments and things that, I really don't like, but they fall within the guidance of the comprehensive plan, where I know how we're going to get some community pushback on something like that. So how do we make it better in there? So that process, things just don't happen in a snap and overnight. And things don't happen in the back room either. As a certified planner, ethically, I'm obligated that if somebody approaches me and says, I want to do this here, that I can't tell our city manager, I can't tell our mayor, I can't tell our council, but I have to have a professional discussion about, one, what is that vision, what is permitted within the zoning code, and then push them to do better. I hate the reference every once in a while, but sometimes it's, to get lemons and make lemonade. And we've done that a lot, and not in every case along the corridor have you seen things that have come before us, because there are things that essentially just don't fit within the vision, and we professionally, I just can't help them in that process. We've had others that have continued to pursue and have made changes to that vision, and that's okay. That's what the process is for in there. But a majority of the time, that comprehensive plan is what guides our decision-making process when a development comes in there. And, again, I don't get the luxury to put a personal perspective. I do as we create our vision and our policies. But when somebody approaches me, I hate to see, I have to be by the book and and speak for the community as a whole, not a neighborhood, not an adjacent property, but, the 2.8 square miles of the city.
Thank you. I think that Jared said this was loud earlier. How often does Olivet seek businesses, or are we more proactive or reactive in getting new businesses in Olivet?
We strive to become more proactive, and I think we've made some great strides in the past couple of years. A lot of the times is, whether it's the resources, the market, or things on how quick something happens and what gives us the opportunity to pursue. We don't actively go out and engage with individual companies, and it's difficult to do so. So if you were to talk about I'll use a Starbucks as an example. You don't go to Starbucks and talk to them about Olivet. You have to go look for Pace Properties, or you have to look for Hutkin Development. So you talk to all these other realtors in there who may or may not have the capacity or the ability to get somebody in. So it gets pretty complex in there. But what we've done is worked in terms of creating opportunities for developments like we'd like to come into all of it. I mean, the best case scenario, the best example is the former City Hall facility. And the only reason we had that opportunity is that we owned property there. So that put us, people were paying attention. Every time the city partners up or comes to the table in a development process, we're better positioned in there as opposed to them approaching us. So that was one opportunity. The Olive Crossing is another one in which, the city initiated and engaged that process to happen. And to note, the city had been trying since 1968 to get that 14 acres developed. So it takes time. And a lot of that is not under our control. We'd like to say it is, and we can do all the code changes and visioning that we want. But ultimately it's going to be those with the purse strings that have that. And then we can create those opportunities where, again, we may not engage with an individual business, but we can create the space or opportunities that those type of businesses can flourish here in there. And it's not just new businesses. I know, like the St. Louis Dance Academy, we've been working with them as they're outgrowing their space to keep them here. And they're relocating and all of that. And a lot of that is through discussions we've had with them and looking for spaces. So we're getting better, but a lot of it is time's the factor.
So if with the new development, they come to you and they don't fit into the vision of the comprehensive plan or into the landscape based on the 2006 comprehensive plan, do we have the right to say no? And do we ever do that?
Yes, and that's where, I said no, I said yes and yes, sorry. And that's a tough question in there. And we know, like, like our neighbors in Creve Coeur and their quick trip court issues, and the court has given the cities some direction and flexibility in that saying no, but only if you're prepared. And I think that's where our role as professionals for the city of Olivet is make sure that the city's in a position to have a strong no that's not based on emotions or immediate reaction. Our comprehensive plan is good, and we're doing an update to that helps us, articulate and for people to understand what our goal and vision is. Our codes are well written to further that in there and such. The world changes, things change, and visions changes and opinions change. And there is a process, like if something were to come in that just didn't fit in, to be creative and to go back and re-engage with the community and the council to see if hey, would this work in there? And it's easy to say if it doesn't, no. And if it does, yes. We've had some unique developments recently, a dog park located in the industrial park. And that's not very common, but we're trying to create, amenities for the number of employees and our businesses that are out there. So that was something we could fix. There are some developments where we've told them, I'm sorry, but there's not much I can help you. And it's up to them to make the decision if they want to continue or pursue. And we have had some that don't go, beyond the conference room door. A lot of those that are what we call motor vehicle oriented businesses. Every imaginable drive-through has probably looked at an opportunity at all of that in there that you don't see, formally petitioning for. And it's not because it's my choice, it's because our codes are well written, that we're looking for dynamic type of spaces, maximizing mixed use and density, and creating an identity for the Olivet that doesn't fit.
Thank you. That's a lot to digest. I mean, and that's one of the questions I'm asked a lot. So I appreciate that. Does the city have any plans for on more mixed use developments and Well, let's leave it at that for right now.
And again, in terms of the city making the plans, I think right now we're kind of waiting to see what the new comprehensive plan and the direction that takes us before the city initiates that, because I think that's kind of like a two-part question. There is the city looking to initiate any redevelopment plans? I would hope so, that we would continue to partner in redevelopment in terms of where and how. I think our new comprehensive plan will kind of give us that guidance. In terms of the private market, yeah, there are still a lot of people looking at our corridor in there, and regardless of how the current economic situation impacts everybody, there's still a lot of development going on, and there's still a lot of interest in all of that. And I anticipate that we probably will see, a couple more projects before year's end.
The second part to that question, which I separated out, is do we have affordable housing in Olivet? We see a lot of the tear downs going on, but is there still affordable housing on in our market?
I would say first and foremost, yes. And then the second question is, what is affordable? But Olivet is one of the few mid-county communities that has public housing. We contract with St. Louis County Housing Authority to provide some public housing in there. It's not a lot, but it's been embraced, and kudos to the community and those that were here to put that forward earlier on. So their segment in there. If you look at the mid-county area, again, based on what perspective. If you look at the county as a whole, we are in that middle upper range in affordability. If you look us in the mid county, we are a very diverse and community and have a full spectrum of what entry level homes to the new $1 million homes that we're seeing along Old Bonham. And it's always interesting. And what that does is, it just makes that pie bigger, and it's hard to balance in there. We're cognizant of it. In the only way, to kind of work with the market, because we don't decide what the value or the price of a house is to ensure that the older housing stock is maintained and available, that we don't constrain the older housing stock from being marketable, and then introducing more units to kind of balance that process, which include apartments, which include townhouses and higher density type places. And it's kind of like a toolbox of a whole bunch of different tools. There's some that some people would prefer to use, others that think this is. I think overall the city is cognizant about affordability. Affordability is something like a perspective of, I think this is affordable based on what I make, but somebody else may look at it different. But in the reality of it is, all of it has made big strides going back to, having public housing, having apartment units, having attached housing, and having single family properties, both being redeveloped and maintained to try to contain that mixture. And that, that dynamic gets wider and wider and wider in there, in that perspective of where that affordability falls, which is different per individual, is always somewhere in the middle, I think.
Can you share with us where we are in the new comprehensive plan process?
Yeah, it's getting really exciting. We've had a really successful community engagement process that concluded last month. We had over 300 survey participants. We had a great community input session here at the community center. And then there's been other opportunities and through our website to participate in the process. So that information, which concluded in June, is being aggregated, and it's going to be presented to the city's advisory committee, which is the group that is assisting the city's plan commission prepare the comprehensive plan. Those results are going to be presented this Thursday along with a market analysis to the advisory committee. And they've already began drafting a new vision statement for the city and then creating the new strategies for the city. So hopefully by somewhere in September, we'll have another public session to look at those strategies, those goals, and get some direction from the community if we're in that right direction. So we're just about past that halfway mark and getting our plan together.
The comprehensive plan process has really been fascinating, and the input from the community has been outstanding. The energy around it's really been great, and that's part of what makes Olivet special, is that people really do engage. My last question for you before I open it up for questions from the audience is, are there exciting projects or updates you'd like to talk about?
The Olive Crossing, of course, the apartments, they're looking to start getting occupied by the end of this month, in early August. That's going to set the tone so we can start the commercial developments along Olive. One of them, which already has been identified, which is the Parisian Cafe in there, and that is a compatible to a bread company. It will be the first in St. Louis, and again, Olivet started that, and that's great. No different than Sugar Fire. That was the first Sugar Fire that was built. Olivet started that. Now there's like 13 or 18 throughout the country, and that's always interesting. We have a microbrewery and diner that is going to be occupying, or is requesting to occupy a space at Plant Haven's Commercial Center. They're going to be in front of our plan commission next week on Thursday in there, and it is a venture by somebody in the Bush family. And so we're excited about that. That still has to go through a process, and that ultimately still is going to require a council approval. So we'll find out by September where we are in there. And then we have, again, not building developments, but these help us get to that next step. Mr. McGregor through Public Works got federal grants to do improvements on Price and Olive and Dealman Olive. And then we have restrike here on Dealman Road, which is a county road, but to help us try to address or better manage the traffic along the corridor. Tenniel Greenway, and that coming into fruition, both not just on the west side of Dealman through Indian Meadows, but they're working on the east side that will get to the Shaw Park Trail by 170. And what makes the quality of life in Olivet great. And then that's what makes my job easier when we get to that recruitment or business interest in investing in the corridor. So,
And something that residents have wanted for a long time. Last night we had the first reading. Can I steal a thunder? Is that people have been requesting a grocery store for a long time, and last night was the first reading, and after the second reading, hopefully we'll be able to say we're moving forward and that we're going to have a grocery store at Olive and 170, which will be amazing. That was a big request from our residents. When I grew up here, there were 2 grocery stores, and just to have one back after all these years would be pretty amazing. Thank you, Carlos, so much for doing this, and your entire staff for joining us this morning. But I'd like to open it up to the residents here to see if anyone has any questions. And I'll give the microphone to Kiana, and thank Kiana for organizing this once again and providing refreshments.
Thank you, Carlos. Would it be possible to have like on a website things that are going on in Olivet as far as like the new businesses? And I know a lot of times you think about what's happening in like 170 in Olive, or I'll drive down Olive and my wife will say, "What's that going to be?" And I go, "I have no idea," but I don't know if that's possible to maybe be, or even when you have new business come in, that may be a problem with advertising or whatever, but it'd be nice. I just thought it'd be nice to have what businesses are coming in and what's being built. So thank you.
and it is a good question, and the city hired a communications manager, I think going on 5 years now. Um, um, Kiana, so she's been helping us to get that. So we now do have a dedicated section to talk about new developments, both that are upcoming and then those that have been approved, and then just an archive in there. The hard part is just the number of clicks, and I'm working with I'll work with Kiana to get that in there. She's helped streamline a lot of that and make that information more accessible. But it's a lot of data my department and the city put out in there, and it's just finding the way to make it just easier to click here in there. But I do know now in the front page, she does have a section in there. So if you were looking for permits, you just click a section and it takes you straight to the permitting process in there. Before that, it took about 5 or 6 clicks just to get to that. And that's kind of probably the issue you have. So we're looking at ways of how to better streamline that in there. Matter of fact, our staff was having a discussion about using QR codes for signage that would directly take you to that. So it'd be a lot easier than trying to tell you http://www.olivetmode.com/ because that does get pretty difficult in there. So then kind of Kiana pushes me on the newsletter to make sure that every quarterly newsletter has specific updates and progress reports on those, and then also through the city manager and through Darren right now, that monthly we provide updates to the council written with what's going on. So there's a couple of opportunities. It's just being able to find them easy if you don't know the website yet. So
There's also, and I was talking to Mr. Goldie about this morning, that every Monday, Kiana sends out to everyone, this week in Olivet. And often it tells you what's happening, but often she'll put welcome to and a new business, or if there's going to be a ribbon cutting of a new business in its location. And if you're not on that, if you go to our website and go to Civic Plus, you can sign up for that as well. And I think that's really fabulous way to keep in touch and know what's happening.
For planning projects, on the homepage, there's a link that literally says planning projects. And if you click that, it'll take you to the homepage and it'll have it broken down by commercial and residential projects. So right on the homepage, it says planning projects. So that may be helpful.
I had the understanding that there was supposed to be a fountain at the Firestone corner. What happened to the fountain?
there is a fountain there. I don't believe it's operational yet in there, but it's not the same fountain or the same type of fountain that we had before. In this case, it's a boulder type of rock that will have some water coming out and create that that water type of environment. Most of the improvement that took place and with fortunately with Olivet and Bloom and their assistance is creating that tranquility with all the plantings in the area, the seating areas and all that. The fountain won't be as prominent as it was before, and that was a decision as part of we had a consultant assist us develop the plan, and in discussions with the council, that design was what we were working forward towards. So it's no. You're right. It's not a big circular thing with water in it. It's more to be kind of secondary to the creation of that place in there. And what George had at the old Olivet 66 station was nice, but this new plan was to change that, and that was through, again, it was through working with the developers there, hiring some assistants. And doing some design review, and then working within our vision. So the goal was not to create another, potable water area, and there it was to make it different, and that it is pretty much in line with what the diagrams that went through the commission, and we work with the developer, and there it's been enhanced a lot, and I appreciate all the work Olivet and Bloom has done in there, because that's what gives it its character. As opposed to just that water feature that used to be at George's.
I've officially become the cranky old lady who lives next door. What can the community do about neighbors whose landscaping styles range from the sublime to the ridiculous? Most of us are out there picking every little weed that doesn't belong in their planting bed. And then there are neighbors next to them who've gone for the prairie style or butterfly sanctuary. And it just looks like the place has gone all to hell. Is the prairie style a thing? Is it okay in Olivet? And the rest of us just have to live with it? And what about neighbors who care about their property? They're putting in a pool, but they've got literally dead trees. And the next big windstorm that comes along, it's either going to fall on their house or my house. And the branches that come down do fall on my property, which I have to then go pick up. And I actually offered them, if you need a tree service person, I know I have somebody good. That part they didn't respond to. So where do you just have to live with all this stuff?
That's a hard question they answer, but that goes back to creating a dynamic sense of place. And it's the diversity of all of it. Not only is it within its residents, incomes, housing types, but also lifestyles in there. Several of these, and I'm familiar with like in that Hillendale subdivision, they're intentional and they're designed. Personally, again, I'm still on the fence of whether I like the movement or not. There are good positive things about it in there. Professionally though, if the intent is there, they're maintaining it. It is within the city's codes in there, and it's good that our codes provide that type of flexibility. Not every lot has to be a sodded, manicured green grass area. A lot of that perspective and views and opinions have changed on that, and we always get that friction when those changes happen in there. There's some property owners that we've worked with that really have are putting that effort and believe in those principles and others that are just using it as an excuse. And it's difficult for us to make a decision that they're right, they're wrong in there. So we're cognizant of some of these. We follow a lot of these, and we probably cite a lot more than what you see in there. The dead trees, yeah, that's a difficult one, and some of it is based on precedents that has been set as we've gone and cited people for dead trees. And the most interesting one, and that was while I was here, was after going through notifications, trying to find assistance, to finally writing a ticket, and then to finally going to court. A decision was made that the tree had become artwork. And again, those are things I don't control. And again, personally, I can't believe it. Professionally, it's at what our standard is. The other thing is what constitutes dead. We have very good inspectors, very knowledgeable employees. But if someone gives us pushback of saying, well, it's not dead, they're still green in there. And that's something that we're still working and trying to figure out code-wise how we can better improve on there. And the limb things, yes. I mean, from as a property owner, it gets annoying and it is frustrating. I understand that in there, but it is part of the process. I think, talking with the neighbor, it sounds like you did, trying to address that issue. We're looking at what other means are permissible within that code that would be upheld and before a judge and a court. And I think there's some things in there. And again, a lot of the times, especially through Paul, I mean, he spends a lot of time trying to talk people into understanding, to being sensitive to other, to the neighbors and what's going on, and try to address those. And that doesn't happen fast, unfortunately. But we'll take a look at that. And again, we're aware of it, and we are looking at our codes to see what we can and can't change and what other communities are doing to address that same issue. And I appreciate that the question in there. I know it is frustrating in there, but there are difficult things for something that sounds so easy to try to enforce.
About the dead trees, in the last 6 months, I've written up over 50 dead trees. A lot of it due to the problem with the oak tree everybody knows about. If there is a dead tree and it's in your neighbor's yard and it is truly dead, give me a call. Give me the address. I can get out there. I'll check it out. If there are no leaves left, it is truly dead, I will give them a notice. They don't get a week. I usually give them 30 days with a chance for an extension because there's such a shortage of tree trimmers. They're all booked out for weeks and weeks. So as I said, if there's a problem with a dead tree, please give me a call.
Giving preference to old age. Carlos, I have a couple of questions. One, Olivet Crossing, it's taken them 3+ years and they're still not done and they're still modifying their plan. Is there a timeline for that? Second, when did we start a wildlife refuge behind Public Works? And third, Dollar Tree up here, when you walk into their store under the eaves, they've got 2 trash barrels and they're always full, they're overflowing, and it looks like a health hazard to me.
Yeah, so I got three questions out of that. Olive Crossing, yes, when that development was negotiated and approved through the process, there's a time frame that they have to have what's termed substantial completion, and right now they're still within that framework. But what is interesting, and you have to understand, and again, in paper, that framework protects the city in there, but what doesn't come into play and doesn't protect the city is a pandemic, a logistics shortage and supplies and things that we have not just Olivet, but the world as a whole has not experienced in the past. Literally, these things all come into play along with trying to find employees and skilled tradesmen and that nature. We had a situation like at the Oliver, they had anticipated opening in April. There was a backlog on electrical meters. So they had to call all the people that they had scheduled to come in April and move that to June. To get to June, to find out that the supplier for the refrigerators only had 42 of the 148. They had to call all the people again, tell them that they couldn't move in until July in there. And those are things, excuses or not, they're unique and things that we haven't experienced. Yeah, I wish the crossing would be moving a lot faster, but it's a complex development. And remember, and you're right, we started in 1968. We're really close to that timeline, and we naturally get impatient, but I think they're okay. I wish it again that it was moving, and we're not building boxes like they are next door. Nothing wrong with that, but it's a hell of a lot easier to build a 120,000 square foot box than it is to create something that has identity in place. And I'm willing to be patient for that. The second thing was behind Public Works. Yes, that is intentional. We did that again because the principles, the vision, the direction that we get from our community is to be environmentally conscious, sensitive to nature, and to look for opportunities to create situations where that is prairie grass. Now there are some weeds here and there, but it was an intentional request to the developer that while the building hasn't started construction, to let that kind of grow naturally in there. And just to note to you, we talked to the neighbors that abut that are more immediately impacted by that in there to make them aware and that they were comfortable with that. So we build that support with them. At the eyesore, it's again, their personal opinions and then professional opinions. Yeah, personally, I wouldn't do that to my yard, but professionally, I understand weather's changing, things are different, and we need to be open to, you know, other ideas and unique things. And this was an opportunity that presented itself, so we followed through. Regarding Dollar Tree, we'll take a look into that. And there's the first time I've heard it. So we'll first take a look at it. I know it's patroned routinely. So again, appreciate you bringing it to our attention because we wouldn't have known. So we'll have somebody take a look at that.
Yeah, Mary Pat Heenan, and I've lived in Olivet for 30 years or plus. I just realized this last year, and your division may or may not help this, but the noise coming off of I-170 at night, it's like a racetrack. Anyone who lives kind of approximate to that area. And I'm wondering if there's some sound barriers, or maybe the police could help monitor some of the racers. I mean, they're very loud vehicles that, and I don't know if it's because we're developing more business, we're attracting race cars, but I don't know if anyone else is aware of this, but it is a growing issue, I think.
On that, because one of the things we notice is, again, things we just hadn't experienced in the past, the pandemic. And when the pandemic hit and everybody stayed at home, 170 became a raceway. And it's something that's somewhat out of our control. Not to say that that's creating or causing all that natural noise. And then we have our neighbors and their developments that are going on. But we have a major FedEx facility right off of Woodson Road in there that almost operates 24 hours in that process. And freight is becoming more and more predominant in there. When the I-170 improvements were proposed, we did have a discussion with MoDOT about sound walls and all that, and we're told specifically no, that it didn't qualify for that. So the city did make those efforts to try to get those put in place. Now, whether they're necessary now, I'm not sure. The other thing with the developments that have gone on U City and even on our side, vegetation has been removed, and it was vegetation that it was more overgrowth than it was than being maintained. But that might have affected some of the sound decibels that you were hearing on that. And then I'll give it to the maybe here.
Yeah, we have officers, 24 hours a day on, and they're always frequently up on the highway at night, running traffic, stopping speeders. So it's kind of unfortunate. It is a central county corridor thoroughfare from North County to get to south, to get to west, to east, at the end of 170. So there's just an immense amount of traffic, and you can't be up there all the time, stop every speeder. And unfortunately, cars are loud. Some cars are louder than others. And I know motorcycles, when they get going fast, they're very loud. So I don't know about the sound, that's more on you, or more of maybe state, because it's their highway. They have to be petitioned to build sound barriers. I don't know how that works. But our officers up there all the time, mainly nightly, writing tickets, get a lot of speeding tickets overnight. So they're up there writing them. It's just that you can't control everybody. Yeah, there's just, most people get on 170 and they don't see a police car on the shoulder. They'll go as fast as they think they need to.
Thanks, Dave. You have one over there?
Yes, I'm Vaughn. My family and I've lived here in Olivet almost 40 years, and we're just very happy to live here. It's a wonderful community, and there's so many advantages to it. and certainly part of that is good governance, which you're providing. Now I noticed that when you were talking about the affordability of Olivet, you mentioned public housing. Now, maybe I should already know the answer to this, but what exactly is public housing related to Olivet?
Yeah, I believe it was back in the 1970s as part of a redevelopment that occurred on the north side of Dealman Road. The city created, I think there are 8 to 12, 14 public housing units that we contract with St. Louis County, who has the housing authority that manage and operate those homes on behalf of all of that in there. I don't know much in terms of what the logistics are and how they operate, but they're part of the county's housing stock to assist, low and for affordable housing and low income housing in there. And I think within the school district, we're probably the only community that provides that type of support in there. And again, we don't operate them ourselves. We own the properties, but St. Louis County kind of handles and manages the properties on our behalf. And I believe we do have a housing authority board that meets on a quarterly basis that goes over and discusses, the future and the operations of those homes. Yes.
Housing Authority Board, the mayor always sits on that board, as well as we have a chairperson from Olivet, and we have, like any other commission, there are representatives from Olivet on it. And they rotate also. So when you're looking at getting involved and that's something of interest to you, that's like one of our commissions, and that information on that is on our website as well. And then we'll wrap up with one or two more questions. I know David and then Mr. Newell, and then I've got some announcements.
We'll do 2 more.
Driving from south to north on Dealman Road at the Olivet line, I'd like to see a sign on the east side of the road that says, "Welcome to Olivet," as opposed to Ladue when you're driving on the other side.
Prior to the pandemic, we had picked out which wayfinding signs we wanted on Olive at both ends and on Dealman at both ends, and also on Price Road, and also with the parks. And I know the parks would have been ordered, and that's going to be coming in soon. And then in the next phase will be the ones that welcome you to our community. So thank you for noticing that those have been down for a while.
Sorry to monopolize the time here. The public housing thing triggered another thought for me. In the long range plan, is there any thought of trying to merge with Elmwood Park either here or in Overland? Do you know is there anything about that?
Not specifically within the long range plan. And that the only reason is back in, I think it was in the late 80s, every community within St. Louis County was required to submit a long range annexation plan. And Olivet has been consistent since that process started. And what the intent of the exercise was not for the communities to annex right away in there, but to consider and take a look at the long-term possibilities. Olivet's has been the same since it submitted its plan. This was well before me, and I still support it. And it's not contrary to the vision or the comprehensive plan in there. So it does note, the city, having the ability sometime in the future to consider annexing Elmwood Park, annexing that gap on Warson Road, where there's a 100-foot strip that belongs to St. Louis County north of Olive, and and to also looking at the remainder of the 63132 zip code. It's always interesting because a lot of people think 63132 is Olivet. Olivet only represents probably 60% of the zip code because it extends all the way to Lindbergh, portions of Page, and all the way to McKnight and further in there. So we do have a plan out in place. In addition to that, I mean, the city contractually provides fire service on behalf of the county for Elmwood Park. The county, because they got the police outbuilding on Warson, don't provide those services, but I'm sure that we have some cooperative agreement in there. Understand?
That would be something that the housing authority would have to look at also. So thank you for that feedback. I want to thank Carlos this morning for joining us and all of the planning and zoning staff and community development. And I have a few announcements, but Carlos, thank you. I think this was really beneficial, and we all appreciate your taking the time to do this. So one of the questions about the 63132, which is a perfect segue into one of my announcements, is last night when we came into the meeting, someone said to me, they were here to support one of the public hearings, and they said, we live in U City, but we're 63132. Does that mean we can be resident members of the new community center? And I said, no, it doesn't work that way, but you can be a non-resident. So the exciting news is that our new community center in Five Oaks is going to be opening soon. It is near completion, and membership applications started this past Monday. So if you haven't had a chance to register, you just come up to the front desk here. There's some information online of what you do need to bring to show that you are a resident. And it's an exciting time. And the building, there's pictures on the website. It looks beautiful. Darren shared last night some pictures with his report as well. The dog park at Irvside Park is officially open. Residents must have an up-to-date animal license in order to utilize it, and they must submit a dog park application. Non-residents will need to submit a dog park is it non-residents or residents that need to submit the application? Both? Okay, need to submit an application. The park will be free use for the remainder of 2023. The annual park membership fees will begin in January of 2024. And for more information, you can visit olivetparksandrec.com. We also hope to see everyone next Thursday morning. We'll be at McDonald's with Coffee with a Cop from 8 to 10, and that's always fun. They usually bring cake for breakfast. Well, cake, French fries, and the city of Olivet will be holding at our next council meeting on July 25th the community development block grant funds, and we will be we'll be talking about in a public hearing the estimated allocation of $60,000. And then the turkey trot, believe it or not, we're having our 10-year anniversary this year, and August 1st is you can register for the turkey trot as well. So I want to thank everyone for joining me. Our next one will be on August 9th. It's a Wednesday morning, and pretty much from here through 2024 through April will be on the second Wednesday of the month. And we are going to offer, when Jennifer Yackley, our new city manager, joins us, we'll have one in the morning, but we'll also have one in a late afternoon or evening so that people will have an opportunity to meet her as well. So once again, thank you, Carlos, and appreciate everyone coming.